typically hit, and you have to give credit to Stanford again. Can't say enough about Tara and her staff, and those guys are just a classy bunch that know how to win and consistently do it. And they're very talented and deep and big. We could have used McFarland tonight, that's for sure, just with the size. But, I thought these two played like veterans, Brenna and Drew. We had a lot of people playing in a game that they, the caliber, the intensity they hadn't played in before. So I'm incredibly, this game doesn't define our season. I'm certainly proud that we were here, disappointed we lost, but our season's not over. So I'm excited about the NCAA tournament and what this group, will get a week and a half to get healthy. We're pretty banged up. And get ourselves right, work on us for a little bit, and play in the tournament, which will be great for our program. So not the outcome we wanted, but certainly a great achievement to play in this game. We want to play in this game again, more times in the future. But again, I'll finish with how I started. Congratulations to Stanford. Just a great game for them.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start here.
Michelle Smith, Pac12.com. Lynn, I'll start with you. You said this game doesn't define your season, but getting to this game might define your season.
I should, better said, the outcome of this game doesn't define our season. Thank you. That's a good clarifier. But getting to this game was huge. It really was, and it kind of put us on a stage that we haven't been on. So, yes, you're right, Michelle.
I have a quick follow-up for Drew. So what was working offensively for you guys in the first half and even maybe into that early part of the third quarter that just stopped working?
Yeah, I think at the beginning we were playing a little more fearlessly. I think that was our mentality going in, is they had to stop us. That's what we've been saying all season. So we were hitting threes, we were getting those inside out, and we were getting defensive stops. And then I think after halftime, we just missed the shots that we usually take, and then we kept turning it over, and that's just Stanford's. That's just what they do best, is make you pay for those. So I think after halftime, that's kind of what fell apart for us, was the turnovers and missed shots.
We'll go in the back, and then Lindsay here in the back, and then Jay over here.
Yeah, this is for Brenna. Andrew Hobner, KZI TV out of Eugene. When you look at this experience, I know playing in the Pac-12 is a grind, but playing in this tournament this deep, I'd imagine feels a little bit different. What was different about it, and how is it something that can help you once NCAA tournament time comes around?
How is the tournament different than Pac-12 play?
I mean, you guys play Stanford normally in the regular season, but was there something about how this game played out, just intensity-wise, that was different than what it is playing them in the regular season?
Yeah, I think once March hits, everything escalates a little bit. The intensity gets more intense. And the saying anything can happen in March rings true. I mean, before our game, there were already like 2 upsets in the tournament and the other league tournament. So anyone can get beat in March. Our team, we've played Stanford twice. We know how they played. We know what we needed to do. And we executed really well in those first 3 quarters. But again, like Drew said, once we give them an inch, they take a mile. So credit to Stanford. They're a great team. But yeah.
Lindsay Schnell, USA Today. Lynn, what type of seed do you think your team deserves in the tournament?
I love that question. Thank you. I think we should be, in the upper half. To compete in this conference, to have 20 wins, and I don't like to, toot my own horn our own horn, as they say, but I think we should be at least a 7 seed. I really do. Who we have competed against game in and game out, I think we've earned that for sure. Just in terms of our net ranking as well, our net is really high. We're in the top 30. I don't know what it is today, but it's been hovering around 25, 26, 27. So we should be one of the top 32 teams.
Jay over here.
Lynn, Gianna clearly wasn't herself. She had the tape on her shoulder. What was wrong with her?
The shoulder she actually hurt in our game against Oregon at home. She just kind of had a stinger that's been sore. She for the first time, kind of maybe looked a little less sure of herself. And Jenna Johnson too. Both those guys are banged up. Jenna's, had some feet issues Achilles and stuff. She was in a lot of pain before the game, wasn't sure if she was going to be able to go. But she fought through for her team, which I appreciate and respect. Yeah, they both, they went 2 for 15, which is so unusual for them combined. So yeah, I think, there's no greater teacher than experience, and they'll get better from this. But we did miss their scoring, but I thought Brenna had a great game, did a really nice job. Picking up, she was the only player in double figures for us. Deja had a great first half. But again, in that second half, it felt like Brenna, but nobody else could make a shot.
Then Drew, that buzzer beating or shot clock beating 3-pointer you made, is that going to be one of the most memorable shots of your career? And just what were you thinking?
Actually, my most memorable shot is when we beat Stanford for the very first time at home, and I shot a layup with my wrong hand, wrong side of the floor. But
She sure did.
there's kind of an inside joke. Sometimes I jack shots up from like volleyball lines, and Joe, our assistant coach, she always gets on me for those. So when I made that one, I had to point at her because she's always telling me to not shoot that. So
We call her Logo Drew.
yeah, so it just felt good. I think about being an upperclassman. I think there's moments like that you have to embrace and just be in the moment and be excited and get your team going. So I don't know if that did it, but I mean, I really enjoyed it. So
All right, Jeff here.
Lynn, Brink only played 5 minutes in the first half, and that was a factor. When they have Brink and Jones both going, and then you mix in the guards and everybody else, how tough is that combination? And then with South Carolina losing, you've seen Stanford all year. Do you think they're the best team in the country?
Yeah, well, to answer your first question, if Brink and Jones are both going, they'll cut down the nets in Minneapolis again. Those two are, alone, they're a matchup nightmare. But when they're both going, I think there's not much you can do. I do think they're the best team in the country. I think, last year them winning, and then there was a lot of talk about them losing Kiana Williams. And, I think in the first half of the season we saw some of the effects of that. They were trying to figure it out because Kiana was such a dynamic leader out there. And when things went sideways, it was like give the ball to her and she'd figure it out for them. And so you saw some of that learning curve and that growing pains in the first part of the season, like, oh, Stanford's not the same without Kiana. But you never count out Tara and her staff figuring it out. And I think they're actually more balanced this season because they're not relying on one player to kind of, okay, go make it happen. And that, as an opposing coach, that's really hard. Shot clock's winding down. I have no idea who's going to get it. And what a luxury, right? Like I think it actually has made them more balanced and therefore more dangerous because their balance is not, those are some talented guys that are really well coached. So that's a long answer to your question, but I actually think they're better than they were last year. And last year they won the national championship.
On the far side to your left.
This is for Drew and Coach. Can you guys talk about how this experience, playing 4 games in 5 days, winning 3 of them, will help you when it comes to the NCAA tournament, of just having that experience of playing almost every day and having to prepare for a new opponent almost every day, and just the confidence you guys got from winning all these games and playing so much in a short period of time?
yeah, I think that's. I think our regular season schedule helps with that. Like we have 1 day to prepare for a team. So I think we've been doing well this whole season. If we had a bad game on a Friday, we had a quick turnaround. And our team was really good at kind of like learning from that, not like dwelling in the past, learning from our mistakes and being ready to play the next game. And I think that's what we did this tournament. Playing 3 games in 3 days obviously is really hard, but I think our depth is what has been the best thing this year. Like anybody coming off the bench is just as good as the starting 5, and that's also been our strength. Is some teams, they don't know who's going to go off on our team. Like sometimes it's Brenna, sometimes it's G, sometimes it's the post. So I think this experience, just playing 3 games in 3 days, is just a positive thing, and we'll just take that mindset into March, just continuing on.
Yeah, I echo that. I think this group's been really good about win or lose, they show up the next day the same. And I think that's what, for us to win games in the tournament, that's going to be a key. Luckily, you do get a day in between to prepare a little bit, but I'm just excited about the opportunity, and I have so much confidence in these guys, and they're excited. they were saying afterwards, these guys who have been in this building after, it's a season-ending loss, not just a tournament-ending loss, like they're, you can see that it's like, okay, we're not done. We're disappointed we lost, but it's not the end of the road for this season and this group.
Hi, Asher Bookspan, the Daily Wildcat. Can you talk about, she had a really strong performance Friday and then 8 points, 10 rebounds. Can you talk about the way Reese has stepped up with Peyton out?
Yeah, she's done a great job. She really has. And for her, I think when we played Stanford at home, she didn't even play the first time. She wasn't in the rotation. And it's such a cool thing as a coach when you see a player just accept kind of their role and just say, okay, I'm just going to keep working. I'm going to keep showing up every day until I get my opportunity. And when my opportunity comes, I'm going to be ready. And that is what Kelsey's done. So Andy Torres got hurt. And so then Kelsey's in the rotation. And then all of a sudden, she's our most consistent defender, our most consistent talker. She knows the scout, free throw shooter, like all those things. And it's like, okay, well, she went from not playing to being in the starting five. And then you put her in these situations where, she's outmatched physically in terms of size, and she's effective. And I'm really proud. That as a coach, that's a really cool thing to see a player. A lot of players, when it gets hard like that, they bounce or they check out. And she stayed engaged, and she waited for her opportunity. And mentally, when you do that, then you can see the reward. She's a perfect example.
Michelle, down here.
I wanted to ask you quickly about the Hull sisters and what they bring to the floor for Stanford. What do they do for them? And then I have a quick follow-up for you.
I will admit that I'm glad they're graduating. They're just the glue players, and I still get them confused. I don't know which one's which half the time. And I have twin boys, so I can say that. Yeah, they just do it. They play so dang hard, and I think they set the tone for that effort and intensity with their whole team. And Anna Wilson, those guys play hard every possession, every single day. And then they're smart, and they're savvy. They've played in that system for 4 years, 5 years. It feels like 87 years. And so they're just smart, savvy, tough, and extensions of the coaching staff out there.
So my last follow-up is about this little scene that we're watching on the TV. And so I've seen a lot of examples in sports where the team that loses watches the other celebration for whether they want it to burn a hole in them a little bit, whether they want to sort of see what they want from this. I'm just wondering what you all are thinking as you're watching Stanford cut down the nets and being here for that, because you're the team that all, could have been in a position to do that. So I'm just wondering, when you're looking at these TVs and they're cutting down the nets, what you're thinking.
I'll answer it, and then I'll let the players answer. Of course, we want to be out there. And it's, it stings. Thank you for really bringing that home, Michelle. No, I know. It's good. It does. It's motivation, right? And I think we all knew what was at stake, and we all believed in our locker room that we could win. In light of how talented and experienced Stanford is. But I think the other thing that I've really enjoyed about this season is we don't get too high or too low, and we just trust the process. And I'm disappointed we lost, but I don't need to watch that for it to burn a hole of motivation in me. Like, I have that, and it's that fire isn't stoked any other way, but just that's who I am. I know that's who Brenna is. I know that's who Drew is. We've got a whole locker room of it. So I'm motivated to get back here and actually climb the ladders and cut it down, and it'll happen. We'll do it.
Yeah, I think what Coach Rob said, I don't think our team needs any more motivation. We've been pretty motivated all year, and coming to the locker room after the loss, wasn't lighthearted. Like, at least we made it to the finals. Like, everyone on our team wanted to win today, and it hurt, and but there were no hanging of heads. Everyone's, getting ready for the NCAA tournament. I think, reflecting on this week, I think it's just, it just shows how good we can be and how playing these consecutive games against these really challenging teams will pay off for us in the NCAA tournament. And I think it's, it's kind of fuel for the fire, and I'm excited to see what the NCAA tournament holds.
Yeah, and I think that's what you just sign up for playing in the Pac-12 is just top 10 teams every week. And like Brenna said, obviously we weren't just cheering in the locker room after the game like, oh my gosh, we made it. It was more of like sad because we know we fully didn't play to our potential and we have so much more to play for. But I think that just shows how motivated this team is. Like, there's only been a couple of us who have gone home, like, we lost the first game and went home and then we're done for 3 months. Like, this team is in there. A lot of the underclassmen are like, shoot, like, we have so much more to play for. We want to be back here. And I think that's just credit to them. They've honestly carried our team this whole way. And that's amazing for freshmen, just showing up and playing at a big stage. And maybe they didn't have a good game today, but they'll have an amazing game in the first game of the tournament. So we'll just use it as motivation. I don't think anyone needs to watch or wants to watch. I think it's a personal choice, but this underclassmen, all these underclassmen, they'll definitely be back for sure.
Do one final question in the back here.
Yeah, Lynn, it almost feels weird asking this, but like, you know, you play a defending national champion that's got 2 players that are probably in the top of the country, and I feel like nationally we don't talk about them the same way. If you know they were a national champion from Storrs, Connecticut, you know they would be more
Sure.
wall to wall than they are. Do you think that this Stanford team, given what they've done the last 2 years, is a little bit underappreciated nationally for who they are and what Tara has done with this group?
Absolutely. Thank you for that softball. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to consider what Stanford does year in and year out, and you know, and they do it the right way, and they play the right way. But we're not on the East Coast, so we don't get the same. We being the Pac-12, the same TV games over there. You know, and just the time and everything. The East Coast media does not, in my humble opinion, cover us with the same vigor as some of the other East Coast teams. And, you know, Tara has a way of just kind of ignoring it and chopping wood and keep doing what she's doing. You know, she's the GOAT for that reason. But yes, absolutely, they should be talked about as much as South Carolina, as much as UConn, as much as Iowa. I mean, those players, those are good teams. And it's not it's not zero sum that you have to take away from one of those to give to Stanford, but Stanford needs to be talked about a lot more. Just their consistency. And they went undefeated in this league. When was the last time that happened with such the level of play in the Pac-12? So yes, 100%.
All right, that's a wrap.
Thank you all. I appreciate your coverage, being here, supporting our sport, our conference. It matters. I really, really appreciate it. Let's turn some heads in the NCAA tournament, shall we?
Yes, we shall.
Thank you all.